let me say at the outset that what I have to say shows how Temple Beth El reached out. It was not insular, or perhaps we reached into Temple Beth El. My folks came to Pontiac, Michigan in 1892. They were the first Jewish family. And as more people came, my mother felt we should have a Sunday school. So she came to Temple Beth El and spoke to Rabbi Franklin, and he was very receptive. He sent us a young man. His name was Bernie Ziegler. He later became a rabbi with a pulpit in Flint. And we had a Sunday school in 2 rooms above a store that was owned by the grandfather of Sherwin Bernkrant, who is a member of our congregation now. We had this Sunday school. Ours was a large family, and when my sisters came of age, my mother thought they should be confirmed. So, and also there were maybe 3 or 4 other young ladies of the same age. So in came my mother to Temple Beth El, to Rabbi Franklin, and said, we would like to have these young ladies confirmed. And he said, why don't you, and maybe there were only 3 families, or 4 at the most, join Temple Beth El, and we will have a special confirmation service for them. And so they joined, and a service was held in Temple Beth El. Now, I was maybe 5 or 6 years old at the time. I remember very little of that service, if any, but what I do remember was being awed by the magnificence of this sanctuary. The stained glass windows, the high dome ceilings, the carved wood, the whole aura was something that I had never experienced before. Maybe I had a spiritual feeling. I don't know. I doubt that I was aware of such a thing. But anyway, that was my first impression of Temple Beth El. A few years later, after this confirmation, well, I should add that a couple years later, my brother also was confirmed, and a girl of his age from Pontiac confirmed, but they were confirmed with the regular confirmation Beth El classes, and their pictures are hanging on the wall. Let me see. What followed after that was that we were able to buy a building because there were more families. I think it was a house that was purchased and renovated, and we had a Sunday school there. We called it the Jewish Community Center, and then we added on to it and called it Temple Beth Jacob. We had a temple, but we had no rabbi. So again, my mother, and possibly some of the other women, came to Rabbi Franklin at Temple Beth El and said, we would like to have our children confirmed. And Rabbi Franklin, again, graciously said, fine. He came to Temple Beth El. He had a driver. I remember this so well. He had a driver. He had an automobile that was black and seemed to be square-shaped. And there was a glass between the front and the back. It was very impressive. Rabbi Franklin conducted the confirmation classes. I was in the 2nd class, and maybe there were 3 classes because we were soon able to have our own rabbi. But it really is very fitting that when Temple Beth Jacob ceased to exist, the remaining members came to Temple Beth El. And in the Alpert room, a wall is devoted to artifacts and pictures, including my confirmation class with Rabbi Franklin in it. Also in the Hanneman Hall, the wall sculpture, I think it's a Schneider work, came from Temple Beth Jacob. But what was so meaningful to me, and I'm sure to many others from Temple Beth Jacob, was that the memorial room was enlarged so that it could accommodate our memorial plaques. And it's really a great source of comfort to walk into the room and see the plaques of all of these former members. And what pleases me in particular is that at the bottom of the plaque, and I want to tell you what it reads. It reads, "In commemoration of those lovingly remembered by the Temple Beth Jacob family, the Joseph and Rachel Barnett Temple Beth Jacob Memorial." Joseph and Rachel were my parents. And so, of course, it has great meaning to me. And it's as if we have a whole circle. We started with our wonderful mentor, Rabbi Franklin. He always listened. He always cooperated. He did everything that he could to enrich the Jewish community in Pontiac. And I, for one, am grateful, and I'm sure the others are too. And now, again, we are here, a part of Temple Bethel, but the spirit of Temple Beth Jacob is with us here at Bethel. Well, the biggest change to me was when we changed the prayer book. And of course, I was not happy with that. But I would say today, I would be very unhappy if I were using the other prayer book. This prayer book has become much more meaningful to me. And the changes have been, there have been a lot of changes in the decor, in the way the service is conducted. It isn't as formal as before, which I thought was a little more spiritual. I like solemnity, but I feel whatever is good for our temple is good for me as far as I'm concerned. I want us to succeed. I want us to have people here who are happy with whatever. So whatever is good for the temple, that's great. Well, both of my son and my daughter were both confirmed at Bethel. My grandson and my granddaughter were confirmed at Bethel. And of course, we observe all the holidays, and I try to instill a feeling of meaning to our religion. I hope that I succeed. Oh, well, I no longer celebrate them in my home. I celebrate them in my daughter's home. And I will tell you this, that for Rosh Hashanah, she had 50 members of our family in her home for Rosh Hashanah dinner, all of whom had previously been to a service, be it at Bethel or another congregation. We always celebrate the holiday there. And another niece has the Passover Seder, at which we have not 50 people, but we have 25, 30 people. We go through the whole Seder, we sing the songs, and we enjoy, and it's very meaningful to us.
Yeah, you've spoken wonderfully about Temple Bethel and its importance in your life. What else have you, how else have you been involved? Been involved in cultural activities,
Well, I I've always done something. I was on the executive committee of the Jewish Center for many years. I was a vice president. I am on the advisory committee of the Jewish Historical Society now. I have done quite a bit of work with the archives. I spent over 200 hours preparing the archives for the Jewish Community Center, and I worked on the Slamovitz papers last year, which was a wonderful experience. He was a marvelous man. I learned a great deal. He had letters from notables all over the world. He was an outstanding man. I really didn't appreciate him that much until I worked on these papers. And I do what my age permits at this point. Though I will say I still play golf.
That's good. That's good.
And I pray on that golf course. I pray that I'll hit the ball.
Most golfers keep out of town. Now, you're living in this area now? Are you close to
Yes.
this,
I live 2.5 miles from here. I'm here in 5 minutes, and I am what is known as a regular.
have you been involved with like the symphony or the art institute? Is that one of your interests? Are those areas?
No, I wouldn't say that. Though the first year we had a cantor, I sang with the chorale, and I learned so much about Hebrew music, which I didn't know before. It seemed to me the only Hebrew song I knew was in Kelohenu. I was not aware of the wealth of Hebrew music and the beauty of it. I learned a great deal, and I enjoy it very much.
I'm wondering, in some of the people who talked with mentioned volunteer activities and getting involved in the community, and I know you've been involved in a number of the projects around Temple and around the community center. Are there any other areas?
Well, offhand, I really can't think of anything offhand. I've always done some volunteer work for whatever organization, but anything specific at this point, I think not. I still go once a week to work on the archives. But for the present, that's about all.
Can you tell us about the pen? What is
Oh, yes, the pin from home to Bethel, which is really what happened with Temple Beth Jacob, because it wound up coming home to Temple Bethel, yes. But this is wonderful, and I'm delighted that we all have these pins to wear. They are very meaningful. They mean that we have a wonderful house of worship that we should all enjoy and be a part of.
Now, you talked about your children, and could you tell us a little bit about what it was like? You said your parents came to Pontiac in 90-something.
Yes, early around 1892.
What,
They had lived in Rutherford, New Jersey, and my father had cousins in Detroit. He came for a wedding, and he took the interurban, or the trolley, whatever they had at that time, out to Pontiac, and he thought it was so lovely, and there was a store for sale. So he bought the store, and they moved here. And when they first came here, the people in Pontiac said, well, we'll give them about 8 months, because they did not know Jewish people. But within no time at all, they were asked to be members of their lodge and engulfed in all the activities. My mother was very involved in so much in Oakland County. she seemed to represent the Jewish people in all the non-sectarian organizations.
What talked about growing up and being burned and you're involved with Temple Bethel really from a very early age. What changes did you see in the society or the city as a whole as you were in this rich legacy here?
Well, I would like to say that more people live well today than they did years ago. I remember during the Depression years when men, never women, but men would come to our door for food. And one thing remains with me. We had a call that there was a Jewish man in Pontiac, and could we have him over and give him a dinner? And of course we said yes, but he came very early, like about 4:30, and he was seated in the kitchen. We had a big table in the kitchen, and he started to eat, and that man started to cry, and he picked up, left the food, and left the house. I never forgot that. It was so poignant. But I think it's wonderful that so many people can enjoy so much more and so much beauty. We talk about these subdivisions, but yet, for instance, Wabeek was owned by Senator Cousins. One family owned all of that acreage, and now look how many people are living there amidst all the beauty of that landscape, of that area. So we have our problems, but I like to think that more people, and I know more people are enjoying now than they did years ago.
Children and grandchildren and great-grandchildren to come, something that were lived by or a message, what would that be?
Well, it would be to be honest, and honest in their feelings, and always feel a part of the Jewish community, and which they do, and which they enjoy. My children are very happy to be Jewish, and to do whatever they can to help others, which I think that they will do. I'm not particularly philosophic, so I can't tell you in too many words what perhaps I feel in my heart. But that their Jewishness be important to them, that they be good citizens, that they make contributions. And I find they do. My daughter is very active in the community. I'm very proud of her and happy that she is so involved. My pleasure.
Yeah, we have